Hey y'all, I'm your host, Aaron Smith of the Offshore Marine Service Association. Each Friday, I'll bring you the Offshore Briefing, a quick rundown of the week's notable developments, updates, and news you need to know in the offshore space. Whether you're on deck or at your desk, we're glad you're here. Welcome everybody to another episode of Maritime in America, the Offshore Briefing. Great to have everyone again. This is our 15th episode. And with me, as always, I have Ashley and Angel. How y'all doing?
Just great.
Doing great today. It's beautiful outside.
It is.
Yes.
Lots of sightseeing out the windows here at work as well.
Always is, especially on a Friday in New Orleans. Lots of good sightseeing, as you called it. So jumping right in, the kind of the story that I saw was it was announced yesterday, or Wednesday, that is, that President Trump had signed or had agreed to a Korean free trade agreement. And it came out that part of that deal was a $350 billion account where the government of South Korea would be making investments in America. What wasn't released at the time, but what has been subsequently released, was that 150 billion of that 350 billion was in an effort that is being called Make America Shipbuilding Great Again. And that this was specifically proposed by the government of South Korea as a way to entice and to get this agreement. And this ties back directly what we were talking about on last week's offshore briefing. And that is this idea that this foreign investment is great, but we need to ensure that we understand exactly what the pay for is. And it's great to have more investment and more dollars coming into U.S. shipyards. That is an amazing thing happening, but we want to make sure that we also have that control, and that not only are we reinvigorating U.S. shipyards, but we're making sure that shipyards customers, vessel owners and operators, have something too. Because if there are not commercially viable U.S. vessel owners and operators, that means shipyards don't have orders. And that means that once that $150 billion dries up, there needs to be something after that. And if we don't have U.S. vessel owners and operators that are competing on a level playing field to make a commercially viable thing, we don't have a U.S. maritime industry and we don't have a U.S. shipbuilding industry. So I saw that, and that's very good news. It's something we definitely applaud. But if it's not implemented correctly, we could be in the same, if not a worse place. So that was something that I saw this week, and we'll be detailing that, as we always do, in today's Friday Fast Facts when that comes out. So
It's interesting how the two, not interesting, it's obvious, but not obvious to others, how the two go hand in hand so much. The shipbuilding and the maritime industry. I mean, the two can't exist without the other. It's kind of frustrating how sometimes people are not seeing that. Would you agree?
We've definitely seen, I think we have seen a lot through last year and this year in the Ships Act, in President Trump's executive order that was released in April. And that was that I look at it as a three-legged stool of the maritime industry. The U.S. maritime industry needs vessel owners and operators, it needs shipyards, and it needs mariners. And you have to have all three of those. And I think that a lot of the proposals that I've seen and a lot of the interest has focused upon mariners and encouraging more people to come into the maritime industry. That's a great aim.
Our big things.
That's
what
one of the reasons we have maritime in America. Yeah, it's something that we definitely agree with. And then you've seen a lot of interest in revitalizing U.S. shipbuilding. Again, that's something we wholly agree with. One of the major purposes of AMSA is ensuring we have a strong shipbuilding base. But mariners need someone to give them a paycheck.
Correct.
Shipyards need someone to put in a ship order.
Yep.
Both of those things are vessel owners and operators. And so many times that middle piece, I don't see that.
No. And then when you explain it like that, it's so obvious. I know this because we go through these discussions, but it's almost like maybe we should add a map to our website of this A equals B. You know what I mean? With C and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to have all three
Yeah.
pieces.
Anyway, I digress, but just listening to that story just made me think of how it just brings forward the point that the two can't exist without the other.
The tech industry calls this where you have an idea, there's a middle thing that happens, and then an end product, but no one knows what that middle
Correct.
is. The tech industry calls this a PFM, pure effing magic.
Exactly. I like that.
And I think a lot of times that people forget in the maritime industry, the U.S. vessel owners and operators are that PFM piece.
Yes.
You
I,
know,
I really like the idea of that like chart that you
Yes.
talked about.
Because
We should do more.
you need this for this. So Angel and I will work on that. We'll work on the PFM. So what I'm working on, this is Ashley. I am working, if you can't tell by my voice, I am working on a multitude of things. The first being our regulatory meeting September 10th. We just had Richard Timmy in the office kind of throwing out ideas, excited about that. But I'd love to hear from the members on what they want to hear about or hear from. Aaron, do you have any suggestions? I know we've been talking about it to get everyone's brains thinking about what we should discuss.
so yes, one of the things, there are a few big topics that we've been talking about, some of which are more like the deck plate level,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that directly affects people. And that would be stuff like, right now I've been working a lot on something called the chemical code,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what OSVs can transport what chemicals. And that's causing a bunch of problems right now. Coast Guard has changed some of their guidance. I think they did so outside of the law, and they shouldn't have changed the guidance that they did because they've made new regs through guidance. And guidance is guidance. It says something you should do, not something you have to do. But the Coast Guard so many times sees it differently. So that would be a great topic, and that's one of those deck plate issues.
Which is what we love for these regulatory meetings to get in the weeds and discuss these technical things and have speakers come out. So I appreciate you. I always like to give at least one example to get people thinking because it sure helps me when we're talking about these things.
Another one that I would like to hear, and I know where I stand on this, but I would like to hear where the Coast Guard stands on this, and what I hope to have for our members when they come to this meeting is an update on the new Coast Guard cybersecurity
Yeah.
regs and how those will be implemented.
So, and I have, AMSA sits on this. It's not an advisory board. It's not even a working group. It's a, it's for our security plans, and we sit with other associations like AWO, PVA. There's a multitude of us that sit there, and we write our security plans that the vessel owners and operators work under. And so we have a group, and I have been working with them directly with the Coast Guard on these issues. So I will be the people operating under our security plans. I will be, giving them specific instructions, but the at large for members, that would be a great idea. And I have reached out to them. So thank you for that one as well.
Yeah. And another thing I would like to hear from our members and what I would like to for them to bring to the meeting are we have a lot of areas where we can reduce the red tape for vessel owners and operators. But what I would like to really hear, and anyone listening to this, please send me your ideas directly. Where can we help mariners? Because I would like to really reduce the mariner burden on terms of training and education. I think that we have gone to a system that is too classroom based for mariner training. And we so many times talk about that hose pipe in the maritime industry. And look, maybe, with the number of times that we've mentioned it on this podcast, it might not be maritime in America. Maybe it's the American maritime hose pipe. is what this podcast should be called, because that is such a great system that we have developed where you work your way up. But with all of the Coast Guard regulations that have been issued, we have cut off that hoss pipe where it is almost impossible and is certainly cost prohibitive to work your way up with those training.
Mm.
So come to us. Tell us what courses you want to see eliminated. And that would be a great help
Yeah.
for us. Look, I don't think, and I will challenge anyone to argue this with me, but do you understand, to get your mariner license, you have to take an entire course and pass a test in celestial navigation, navigating based upon the stars. You have to get, every mariner has to pass a course in that if you want to get a certain license level.
What year is it again?
It is, last I checked, it was 2025.
I think that's a fascinating course. Y'all are making fun of it. I would love to take that course, although we don't really see the stars in New Orleans.
You understand that this isn't stars for a horoscope.
I know,
Like,
I know, I know, I know. Again,
no, it's
I always
just,
bring a different whole aspect to our conversations on maritime, which leads me to my next tidbits of the day.
okay.
I like to leave our listeners with a tidbit. Last week it was Hulk Hogan's passing. It was the Annabelle doll one time. This time is for the husbands out there to always listen to their wives because we know best. We're not the best at everything, but we think things through. We plan ahead. We are really good with details, or at least I am, right?
Which also, this is the story you say.
This is the story I've saved for today. I didn't tell Angel because I wanted to tell her with all of you. Aaron and I, our daughters go to summer camp for the month, and we were so excited to pick them up. And it is a hike. It is 8 hours away. And we drive because they have so much stuff. And so we leave, we're driving, and the week before, I had said to him, "Hey, you say your car is driving funny. Should we get it fixed?" And he says, "No, it's fine." And I said, "Are you sure? I'll take it in to get fixed. It's fine. Drop it off. We're going to the same place for work. We only need one car." No, it's fine. It's fine. Basically acting like he made it up. And I said, we could always take my car. I know all the camp supplies fits in it, and it's a newer car. It'll make it. He says, "Nope, my car is fine, Ashley. Don't worry about it." Well, about 4 hours into our journey, I'm sleeping, got my little headphones in, and I feel the car stop on the interstate. Our transmission went out because the issue that he said was fine, that he made up in his head, was not fine. And we ended up in Springville, Alabama, that had zero at
Beautiful.
6 p.m. on a Friday. Lovely. The people were so nice. However, there was no hotel. There was no car rentals. And we still had to pick up our children at 9 a.m. the next day. Anyway, we had to rent a car. It was all fine. It is what, in the big scheme of things, we're picking up our children, fortunate to have them back.
Where did you rent the car from?
Birmingham, Alabama. Thank you, Angel. We had to Uber 45 minutes and get the last quote unquote SUV. It was not an SUV. And drove that the remainder of the way, which I told him on the car. The icing on this cake, Aaron, would be if we got a speeding ticket because he has a very heavy foot, which I don't mind, but I was just saying. Guess what happens? We get pulled over for speeding. So, and then there's a whole nother story how we got home, but we're home. Everyone's fine. Lucky to get the kids. My takeaway for all of you, or I'm leaving with, is to always listen to your wives, because we are good at planning. And I knew this was going to happen. And I'd like to pat myself on the back that I was pretty normal. I didn't scream. He just said, "You can say it." And I said it like twice. "I told you so."
Twice.
That is my
Twice in the
the
first hour.
listeners
Yes.
with that tidbit.
I told someone that I should have given this as Ashley's birthday, Christmas, anniversary, and every other present, because she finally gets a chance to say, "I told you so." So yeah, which is her favorite thing.
But it was a very good "I told you so." So
To reel it back in.
Thank you, Angela.
So Aaron, you were just talking about the mariners. The U.S. Coast Guard's actually just released a new tool that you can check the mariner's certificate, check application status, verify certificates now. Before you had to actually call and wait to get someone on the line, but now you can just fill out this form and they'll email you and keep you updated.
Yes, I will object to the word new, because this was a tool that was readily available up until 107 days ago. And then, yeah. So, yes, they did fix the problem that they broke.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yes, it is great that they fixed it. They shouldn't have broke it in the first place.
yeah, it's not as good as what we had, but it's better than
Yes, then
the other
the
one.
104-day interim period. Yes, that's a very good one to bring up. Yeah, that was, and for AMSA members, we did send out a release on this. If you have problems with the new-ish system, please let us know and we can see if we can address those. So I think this was, well, my updates and Angel's updates were very good this week. So I think
Mine were great, and I think a lot of these listeners, especially the women, will shoot me an email and let me know that I was right.
well, we all know how you like to be right. So,
Mhm.
well, thank you everyone for joining. If you like more of this content, please like and subscribe. Please write us a review. We have some great episodes. We just recorded a great episode of Maritime in America. It's coming out soon. This is going to be one of our best ones, and I hope everyone enjoys it. So we got some. If you know of guests that you want to have on this podcast, please let us know that too.
And if you're wanting more of the weekly tidbits, just let me know.
Well, great. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a good weekend, and please be safe.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Bye. That wraps up another episode of Maritime in America. We're proud to highlight the voices and stories that keep the American offshore industry strong. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us, and remember, the course ahead is shaped by those who step up and steer it. If you liked what you heard, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your crew. Tune in every Friday for your offshore briefing, and don't miss our next full episode, dropping soon with a very special guest, Mariner's Perspective. Catch you next time.